Good day, everyone. Welcome to our today's webinar on HUAWEI commissioning. So today mainly we'll be focusing on system commissioning, that is the Smartlogger 3000 or 1000 and the Smart Dongle 4G. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll just maximize it. Okay, so today we'll be mainly looking at system commissioning. So our first commissioning setup. So the HUAWEI, after installing the HUAWEI inverter and you have checked all your wiring if they are tight and secured, the next step to get your system up and running is to commission and set up all the COM parameters together with the management system parameters. So our inverters can be, as I said yesterday, the HUAWEI inverters, they are touch free, which means they do not have a screen, they do not have buttons. So all the setting up of the inverters is done through the app. So the main three apps, is the Sun 2000 app, which is an inverter app for setting up the inverter, and then the second app is the Fusion Solar app, which can be used for setting up the inverter locally and to set up the plant for remote monitoring as well. And then the third application used to set up the system is called the Web UI, which is a web-based software for setting up the Smartlogger. So today we'll look in detail on how you set up the inverters and the Smartlogger and power meters with those three softwares. So the first software that we'll look into is the Sun 2000 app. So the Sun 2000 app, it's an inverter app. You can only set up the inverter with it. So to download the Sun 2000 app, we can just go to Google Play Store and just type in Sun 2000. You'll get it there. However, there's been, for the Android versions, for the latest Android versions, some of these apps are not available, especially the Fusion Solar app, due to these economic wars between China and States. So Google decided to omit some of Korean apps. So if you have a latest Android version, to download the HUAWEI apps, which is the Sun 2000, the Fusion Solar, you would need to first download App Gallery on your Play Store. So if you go to Play Store and then just search for App Gallery, it's a HUAWEI store as well. Just like Play Store, you can download all the Android apps there. And then after you've installed the App Gallery, then you can download these apps from the App Gallery. So the Sun 2000 app, after I've set up the inverter, you need to use three connection modes. The first one being the USB. So you can use a USB cable connected to your inverter directly to your phone to access the inverter, or you can use a Bluetooth dongle, which is a USB dongle. We just need to plug it on the inverter and then it will broadcast a Bluetooth. And then you can also use a VLAN dongle, which is now widely supplied with the inverters. It's a USB dongle as well. So you need to plug it on the inverter and it will broadcast a VLAN network that you can use to connect to the inverter. So after I've set up your inverter, all C&I inverters underneath, they come with a USB port. So whichever connection mode that you'll be using, you need to plug in the dongle or the cable on the inverter. and then plug it to your phone. So once your inverter is powered on, the dongle would if you have a dongle, then it will broadcast whether Bluetooth or VLAN, and then the cable will be able to be read by the Sun 2000 app. So when you open the Sun 2000 app, as you can see on the screen, this is the default homepage of it. So basically, to ask you for it will prompt you for a connection mode, of which the system uses 3 connection mode, which is the Bluetooth or WLAN dongle, or the USB cable. So you need to select your connection mode, and then after selecting your connection mode, then you need to select the user level. So the Sun 2000 app comes with three user levels, which is the common user. Common user, you cannot perform any settings on it. The only thing you can do is to view. So basically, Sun 2000 app can be used as a local monitoring application for the inverter. So for the common user, you can only log in, and then you can only view the running status, the alarms, and all that, but you cannot configure anything on it. And then the advanced user, it's usually for a standard installer level, where you would set basic parameters from grid code, COM addresses, and all that. And then the special user, it's an advanced option in case you need to change specified settings in terms of protection, safety. So the things like insulation resistance, if there is need to widen your under voltage and over voltage parameters, if there is need to change your over frequency and under frequency, those parameters you can only change them as a special user. So the standard level as an installer that would need to log in with its advanced user, and then the default password, it's 5 zeros and an A. For all level users. So preferably do not change these passwords, because someone, usually these are where inverters, they run quietly. You get someone not going to site for a year. When it goes back to site, doesn't know the password, then it's an issue to log in. So preferably just leave the password as default, which is for the Sun 2000 app, it's 5 zeros and an A. So the moment you log in as into Sun 2000 for the first time, if you are a first time user, or it's the first time logging into the inverter, it will prompt for quick settings. So these settings, basically, they are almost everything that you need to set on the inverter. That is to prompt you for the grid code. Then you can quickly set your grid code. For our region, it's NRS 097 -2-1. And then you need to set your date, your time, and then the com parameters. For the com parameters, that is the communication mode used between your inverters, across your inverters, and to the Smartlogger. So usual for inverters, we use Modbus RTU, which is RS-485, which comes as default. And then the baud rate, all HUAWEI devices, they use a default baud rate of 9600. So preferably you leave it as default as well. And then the address. So for each and every inverter, it has to have a unique address. So the address can be set between 1 and 254. So each and every inverter has to have a unique address. So this address, if you have 10 inverters, then you can set them from 1 to 10, 10 to 19, and so forth. And make sure that these addresses do not conflict with other devices in the system. For instance, if you have a power meter on your system, the address of the power meter should also be unique to the inverters. The same as well if you have a weather station in your system. All RS-485 addresses should be unique for every device connected, or else it will get a communication fault, which is usually a conflict of addresses. Okay, so once you've set up, so this page is Okay, once you have set up the quick settings, after you've set up, then you just click the OK button at the top, and then basically all the major settings which you have set, that is the communication and the grid code. And then if you are using a smart dongle 4G, you would need to set the management system on your Sun 2000. That is the server address for the dongle to connect to the Fusion Solar. So you'd need to go to settings, um, and then communication parameters, and then you select management system. So if you select management system, this is basically the home page that you would get on management system. So the city key is the distinct address of the inverter. So this one, you cannot change it actually. It's grayed out, so you cannot make any changes to it. The NMS server, which is the server for the monitoring server for the HUAWEI systems. So we set it to sg5.fusionsolar.huawei.com. So for our region, for our Africa, Africa and Middle East region, our server that we use, it's a Singapore server, which is the SG5 one. So all your away plans, they are supposed to be on sg5.fusionsolar.huawei.com. And then the port number, it comes as default is 27250. Just make sure it's set to that. The other port number that you can use, it's 1600. But preferably for SG5, use 27250 because it has less traffic. And then SL encryption you enable. And then if you have more than one inverter on your chain, let's say you have a daisy chain with slaves, then you need to enable cascading channel. Cascading simply means you have inverters in a daisy chain. So you also enable cascading channel. But however, if you have only one, if you're setting up only one inverter, then you just need to, you can leave it off. But the SSL encryption, you need to enable it as well. And then the settings that you access on quick settings, you can however set them manually. You can access them on settings. So the first image on the left side of the screen, that's the home page of the Sun 2000. After you've set up the quick settings, that will be a home page. So the alarm part, if the inverter has any alarms or warnings or faults, it will be recorded on the top part, written alarm. So when it's green, it means there is no alarm. If the area shades orange, it means there is a warning. So if you just click on that specific area, it will actually show you the specific alarm or warning. And when there is a fault, then the region will shed red, and it will actually tell you the number of faults that the inverter has. And then on running info, basically you get your real-time readings for the inverter. That is, you get your PV voltage, current, you get your active power production, all your real-time readings. You can view them on running info. So basically, it gives you the window for local monitoring. And then the energy yield, on energy yield, basically you get cumulative values for the inverter performance. That is the generation over time and all that. And then on settings, okay, we'll look in. Let me skip that for now. We'll look into that shortly because this next picture on the right is for settings. And then on inverter command settings, you can actually switch on and off the inverter through the app. So on inverter command settings, if you click on it, you get commands for shutdown, power on the inverter, and all that. And then at the bottom, you have inverter updates. So in case there is a need to upgrade the firmware of your inverter, we would use that tab at the bottom left. We'll cover that shortly on our next slide as well. And then if there is need for device locks, so timely when the inverter has faults and all that, and we are troubleshooting, HUAWEI timely they request the inverter logs. So the logs, you download them on the central tab on the bottom row, which is device logs. We'll also look into that shortly on our next slides. And then about, it's just the information about the inverter, the software version, the IP addresses and all that. So, and then on settings, if you click on settings, you'll get this next tab from left to right, which is settings. So on settings, you'd get feature parameters, which is mainly the protection parameters of the inverter. That's where you get your isolation parameters, where your inverter reconnection parameters, in case it loses the grid. When the grid comes back, there is a range which the inverter should check for voltage and frequency and insulation and all that before it reconnects, if all parameters are all within the specified grid code requirements. So please note that the reconnection voltage and frequency, it's actually different from the over and under voltage. You might find that your over voltage trip is 52.5 for the NRS grid code, right? While the inverter reconnection is 250. So the inverter, if the voltage is at 251, the inverter would not produce at start because it's out of the reconnection range. But however, if the inverter is already in production and the voltage goes beyond the 250, which is the reconnection, the inverter will still produce up until it trips at your over voltage level. So in most cases, you'll find our grid code is not stable. You find it hunting around 251, 252, up around 254. And then the installer gets to site, measures the voltage. It's around 253. Then logs in, changes over voltage to 260 thereabout to try and widen the tolerance of it. However, the inverter still doesn't produce. So you need to take note that the reconnection voltage and the over voltage or under voltage, it's actually two different settings. And then on user parameters, basically you set the basic parameters. Those are date and time, plant name, and all that. And then COM parameters, basically you set your communication address, your baud rate, and then your specific settings for the RS485 port 1 and port 2, and then for the management system. So when you are using a smart dongle, after setting up your quick settings, you need to go to settings, COM parameters, and then set up these settings so that the dongle will be able to connect to the Fusion solar server. And then on protection parameters, basically that's where you set major parameters, which is the insulation, over voltage, under voltage, over voltage frequency, over frequency, and under frequency. So most installers who have used HUAWEI inverters would know if for the 60 KTL, the people who wrote the NRS code made an error on under voltage level 3. So all 60 KTLs, if you install them, there is need to access protection parameters, and then you would set and then change your under voltage level 3. It's actually set at 230, which is supposed to be 115. So whenever you have a 60 KTL inverter, after setting up, you need to go to protection parameters, and then go to under voltage level 3 and change it from 230 to 115. And then support systems, those are if you have any weather station wired to the system, then that's where you set up your Modbus IDs such that they'll be able to communicate. And then that's where you also get your power on, power off. If you want to restore to default settings and all that, you also get those on support systems. And then on protection parameters, you on future parameters, then you can access the grid code. So if you want to change the grid code and you didn't manage to do so with the quick settings, you can, however, go to settings, feature parameters, and then access the grid code. So on the grid code, then all the grid codes supported on the inverter, they will be listed there. Then you just scroll for, if you are in the Southern African region, then you can scroll for the NRS 097, which is the Southern African grid code. All other settings on grid code, you leave them as default. The moment you select your grid code, all the specifications or requirements for our electrical standard in our region, they are already inbuilt in that file. So the moment you select the grid code, all other settings, they are already they'll be populated. So there is no need to manually set one by one. And then the isolation mode, make sure that the isolation mode is set to input and grounded with TF. So this is the default setting. There is no need for you to change it. The moment you change it, you usually get isolation faults and all that. So the only thing that you change on feature parameters is the grid code, and with all other settings will be simply be populated the moment you select the grid code. So basically that's all on or about the grid code. And then to change for if you are to change the protection parameters, so protection parameters are detailed feature parameters in terms of reconnection frequency and over voltage and all that. You can only access those as a special user. As an advanced user, you can change the grid code, but you won't be able to change the specific parameters within the grid code. That is those over voltage, reconnection, and all that. Those, to access those, you would need to log out and log in as a special user to access the to be able to change the protection parameters. And then one other important thing that we usually use the Sun 2000 app for is downloading inverter logs. So when we are troubleshooting, one thing, please note that when you have an issue with the inverter, please report to us as early as possible, or even if it gets a fault which clears, because usually with low resistance faults, isolation faults, due to moisture in the morning on the PV modules and all that, the inverter might timely get low resistance faults or isolation fault, which is basically the resistance between your phases and the earthing would have dropped due to moisture. Usually in the morning, the inverter will give an alarm, and then as the sun goes up, that alarm clears since the moisture have dried up. If you have such scenarios, please let us know, and then you can quickly check, because if that error occurs over a long period of time, and then the inverter eventually picks up, when HUAWEI requests logs and they discover that, then it won't be covered under warranty. So wherever you have a fault that you're not familiar with, or you are not getting right with it, please let us know so that you can quickly troubleshoot with HUAWEI as well, so that you can quickly resolve that. Because we have encountered a couple of situations where one of the inverters was having a low resistance fault in the morning, and then the client just overlooked that, and then finally the inverter packed up, and the fault has been happening for close to 2 years. So whenever you have a fault, please report to us. And when the inverter has such faults which you report to us, please send through the inverter logs. So those logs, you can download them through the Sun 2000 app. So on that, on the home page, on the lower row, on the middle, tap on the middle tab, which is the device logs. It will open this page on the left. So and then you tap on inverter logs. Then it will prompt you the type of logs that you'd want to download. So when you're downloading logs, make sure you highlight everything such that you download all the logs, especially if you are sending them to us. However, if you want the logs for your personal use, that is the running log, the production logs and all that, then you can, however, select the specific logs. But if the logs are for troubleshooting, make sure you select all the logs, and then you select download file at the bottom. Then it will prompt you for a folder to save on your phone. Then you just select a folder, and then those logs will be downloaded to your phone. The logs by default, they are downloaded as a zipped file. Please do not open those files. Do not extract those logs. When you are sending them to us, just send them as a zipped file. So usually there is need to download logs when the inverter is faulty, and there is need to check on the previous performance on it, like to try and establish the root cause for that fault. That's when we would timely request the client to download logs. So if you could access your inverter through the Sun 2000 app locally, then that's the procedure on how you can download the logs. And then if your inverter has an alarm and you are on site, if you are logged into Sun 2000, you are able to actually view the alarms. The alarms range from active, the ones which have already cleared, basically, which is the history alarm. So when you on the home page, if you tap on the alarm page, it will prompt you for different types of alarms. So you can select for active alarm. To actually show you the current alarms which are still standing. So at the bottom of the page, you can select active alarm or history alarm. So on active alarm, it will show you the alarms which are still standing and the time to which they were generated, the generation alarm, and it will also show the severity of the alarm. If it's a major alarm, things like grid fault, isolation. So a major alarm, the inverter will stop producing, but the alarm, if it's a minor, usually to be a warning, then the inverter can produce, but however, you would need to attend to that specific alarm. And then at the bottom, and then you can select the history alarm. On history alarm, basically to show you the alarms which occurred but have already been cleared, whether they were cleared manually or they were automatically cleared by the system, and it will actually show the generation time and the time at which they cleared. So alarm management is there for you to be able to know which kind of fault the inverter has, and when you get the alarm, you can actually, if you click on it, it will show you the alarm ID, which you can use to refer to the troubleshooting manual on the to the troubleshooting sheet on the inverter alarm. So each alarm has a distinct ID code, so you can use that ID code to refer to the manual, and then you can actually get tips on how to recover that specific alarm. We'll also look into that during our webinar as well. And then the next thing that we usually use the Sun 2000 app is for upgrading the firmware. The inverter works with default firmware. The firmware that comes, the factory firmware that comes with the inverter is the one which it works with. But however, due to troubleshooting with HUAWEI and all that, they might require to they might request for a firmware upgrade. So they would basically they would send a firmware to us, which we'll share with you. So if you are to upgrade the inverter firmware through the Sun 2000 app, on your lower row on the left tab on inverter, if you click on inverter update, it will actually show you the current firmware version, and then you would search. So basically, you need to have the firmware, the new firmware in your phone. So it will prompt you to search for the packet for the firmware file, of which it will browse your phone, and then you simply select that specific file. So the file it will be zipped. All HUAWEI files that they are supposed to be transferred as zipped files. So whenever you're saving the file in your phone, do not unzip the file. Keep it as zipped, and then just upload it to the app while zipped. Once you upload it, then you click on upgrade, and then the inverter will start to upgrade your firmware. Once done, it will simply restart, and on the app it will simply show you that the upgrade has been completed, and you would actually or you actually see the new firmware version if you go on about. So basically that's the Sun 2000 app commissioning. Most of these firmware upgrade logs, usually these you do such they will be needed when we request them in cases of troubleshooting. Alarms, usually installers, they would use them to just view what kind of alarm the inverter is having, such that you'll be able to troubleshoot and all that. And then usually the Sun 2000 app, the main things that you carry out on them is only to set the quick settings. Upon first log into the inverter, you set the grid code, your Modbus ID for the inverter, your date and time. And then the next thing, if you are using a Smart Dongle 4G, then you need to set your server address and port number on communication parameters. And then timely, there is need to you set the protection parameters on settings, but quick settings and it will be enough for the Sun 2000 app. So our next commissioning step will be the web UI. The web UI is a web-based software for commissioning the Smartlogger. So the current Smartlogger in the market is a Smartlogger 3000. That's the one that we will refer to in this webinar. However, the same procedure applies to the Smartlogger 1000 as well. So the Smartlogger 3000 on our top left, that's the underside of it. So it comes with two Ethernet ports on it, the WAN port and the LAN port, the LAN port and the WAN port. So these two ports, they are the ones that we use to connect to the logger. Please note, the Smartlogger 1000 is one port, which is a one port, which is the one which is used to connect to internet. So most of that port has to be changed to be in the range with your internet that you are using, or inside the logger. So timely, you'd get installers if there is time without going to site. You would forget the IP address of the logger, and then it will be a hassle for him to log into the logger and all that. So however, then they they brought in a Smartlogger 3000A with 2 ports. The LAN port, the default IP address of the LAN port does not change. It stays fixed. So whenever you want to connect to the logger, you simply use the default IP address when you are connected on LAN port. The WAN port, the WAN port, this port is used to connect to the gateway. That is for your logger to connect to the server, to use your internet to connect to the server. So this port has to be changed. It's a setting that you need to do on your Smartlogger. This port, you need to change it to be in the range with your internet that you are using. That is your premise internet. So you need to change the IP address to be in the range of your internet. You need to change your subnet mask to be in the range with your internet. You also need to change your default gateway as well to be in the range with the internet. So when you with your Smartlogger, when you after setting it up, installing it, connecting your your devices to it, that is the power meter and the inverter to the COM ports, you power it up. So at the bottom left, it has 3 LED indications. The other one is written run, which basically shows that the Smartlogger is powered on. And then there's the ALM, which is basically the alarm. It will flicker green or off when everything is okay. The moment the logger has a fault, or if one of the devices connected to the logger has an alarm, it will illuminate red. And then the third LED is the 4G LED. If you are using a 4G line, then it will be flickering. It will be solid green. If not so, which means it's not getting any communication on the 4G line, it will be flashing fast. That is basically once every second on it. So when you set up your logger and powered on, you would need to connect your laptop to the logger. So you'd need to connect an Ethernet cable, which is a basic internet cable, straight cable. 1 to 8 on both sides should be the same. Then you connect to LAN port, which is the LAN port. And then once you have connected your laptop to the LAN port, now you would need to, once you have connected to the LAN port, then you need to change your IP range for your computer to be in the range with the the logger. So we need to change our laptops to be in the range. So when we refer to IP range, we refer to the first three set points of the IP address. In this case, for the LAN port, the IP address is 192.168.8.10. So to be in the same range, you need to be in the range of 192.168.8. And then the last digit has to be any number other than 10. The IP ranges, they start from 1 up until 255, sorry. So you need to set to be in the same range. You need to maintain the first 3 digits, first 3 numbers, and then on the last number, then you set your number to be any number other than 10. So if you check in this example, you need to set your PC to be .8.11 or any number which is not 10. And then the subnet mask has to be the same. And then your default gateway has to be the same. Let me see if I could, okay, I just want to share another screen. Okay, just okay. Okay. Screen share. Okay, can you see my screen now on settings? Can you see my settings screen now? Okay.
Yes,
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you are using Windows 10, you need to just go at your bottom on your network icon on the bottom right. Just right click it and then select network and internet settings. Basically, it will prompt you to this page. Or alternatively, you can go to your command window and then type in settings and then select network settings. So this is your home page. So to set your computer to be in the IP range, we are using Ethernet. So you need to select your Ethernet. Select on Ethernet, and then you go to change adapter options, right? And then if you change adapter options, and then you would right click, and then you right click for, so okay, when you select Ethernet, it will give you the Ethernet page, and then if you click on Ethernet on the main page, it will show you Ethernet with the IP addresses and all that, and the IPv4 addresses. Then you can select edit. Then it will open a separate dial-up page where you can change to manual and then change the IPv4 settings to be in the same range. I'm not sure if you are able to see. I'm sure it will. Okay, let me say change adapter options and select that screen as well. Okay, I've selected another screen so if you go to Ethernet and then select change adapter settings on the right side, it will open a page with your network options to your laptop. Then you right click on it, select properties, then it will open a dialog page where you would need to select the type of network that you are that you want to change. So we use IPv4, which is Internet Protocol version 4. So if you click on IPv4, it will open another dialog page with an option whether you want to to obtain the IP address automatically or you would want to set it manually. So in this case, you'd select use the following IP address, which is basically setting up the address of your IP settings manually, and then from there, then you set the IP address to be in the range with the local address. In this case, if you are using default, then it will be 192.168.8 and then .11, for example, and then the gateway and the subnet mask will be the same. After that, then you select OK. Then your Ethernet port, then it means it will only connect to devices in that range. Okay, so I'll just quickly go back. And then one other thing, one other thing, timely, as an installer, you would request timely as an installer, you would request the IP addresses for the internet for the site that you'll be working on. The IT guys will give you wrong IP addresses, and everything is not coming right, and all that. This logger is not connecting to the internet. So usually I recommend that whenever you are doing the settings on the logger, manually check for the premises internet. So before you set your settings to manual, plug your premises Ethernet cable and check if your laptop is accessing internet, right? When your laptop is accessing the Ethernet internet, that desktop thing with the cable, then on your Windows search for command prompt. So command prompt will basically, you'll be able to search the IP addresses for all devices connected to your laptop. So to do so, you just type, if you open your command prompt to open a black screen like this, then you just type in IP config. If you type in IP config, then it will basically show you all the networks that are connected to your laptop. So in many occasions, you find as an installer, you would request from the company IP, like what is your IP address? They give you the IP address, and it's a wrong IP address. So preferably to just verify if you are using the correct IP address, the subnet mask, and the default gateway, you can use command prompt with IP config. So in this case, I don't have any Ethernet network connected to my laptop. So if you connect in Ethernet cable under Ethernet data Ethernet, you would get an IP address, which is an IPv4 address, the subnet mask, and the gateway. So basically, you need to just take that down, because these are the settings that would use to set our one port, which is the WAN port, to be in the range 2, such that it will be able to access the company's internet so as to connect to the server. So you can actually use your IP config on command prompt to get your IP settings for the Ethernet that you're going to use to set up your logger. So, okay, I'll quickly go back to our presentation. So once you have set your IP address to be in the range with the with your logger. Now the next step that you need to do, you need to access Internet Explorer. You need to access actually a web browser, preferably Internet Explorer, right? So with Internet Explorer, it doesn't have much restrictions, because some browsers they would actually reject your connecting to the logger. So Internet Explorer has less security restrictions, and usually timely some other installers will be having their laptops installed with firewalls and all that. Then you won't be able to access the web UI page. So please take note of that. But by default, if your laptop doesn't have any file or restrictions, after setting your logger, your PC to be in the same range with your logger, then you need to go to your Internet Explorer. Please note, you have to type in the HTTPS : before your IP address, because whenever you search something on internet, you just type whatever you type, and then it will automatically input that HTTPS for you. But with the Smartlogger, you have to manually type in HTTPS : // and then you type in the IP address of the logger. Now here you need to type in the IP address, not to be in the range, but the specific IP address of your logger. In this case, it will be 192.168.8.10. So currently I don't have any logger connected to my laptop. So once you click enter, it will, if your cap is connected correct, your laptop is in the IP range, and your one port did not change. The moment you click enter, it will prompt you for advanced settings, basically a notification to say the website that you want to connect to is not secure. Do you want to continue? Then all you need to type is to say continue to the web address. So just let me go back to our presentation. So as soon as you continue to the website, as soon as you prompt your computer to continue to the website, which will be deemed to be unsecure, it will open a web UI Inspire page, a blue page on the left side, represent Inspire under item 3. So the Inspire page basically to prompt you for login. So that's the home page for the Smartlogger web UI. So the language, you can select your preferential language. Default, it comes in English. However, if you are good in Dutch, then you can select Dutch and so on. So default language is English, and then the username for Smartlogger 3000, there is only one default user, which is admin. However, if you are using a Smartlogger 1000, there are 3 level users, which is common, advanced, and special user, just like the Sun 2000 app. Then you'd need to select advanced user. But if you are going to set specialized settings like export limit, if you want to change protection parameters, then you'd need to log out of advanced and log in a special user. Because the level of access for the Smartlogger is the same as that of Sun 2000 as well. So currently, with the Logger 3000A, there is only one user level, which is admin, and then the default password, it's change me for the web UI page, which is change me one word with the capital letter C. So this is the default password. So the moment you log in for the first time into the Smartlogger, it prompts you to change the password. Please change password to a common password, maybe the one that you use across all your sites, or you can return change me, or you can just write HUAWEI123, an easy password that you will not forget. Right. So once you have changed your password, the first page that the system would prompt you, it's a deployment wizard page. So let me just expand my screen. Okay, oh, sorry. Okay, so the moment you log in, after changing your password, when you log in with the new password, the default page that it will prompt you to is the deployment wizard. So basically, deployment wizard, it's a quick settings as well for the Smartlogger. So it has steps from 1 to 7 listed at the top that you basically need, like the primary steps that you would need for your setup. So the first one is basic parameters. So on basic parameters, basically you need to set your country, your time zone, the clock system, you leave it as default. there's a management system, and then the clock synchronization server, you can leave it as default. If you need to, you can change it to our Middle East African server, which is sg5.fusionsolar.huawei.com. And then after you've set the settings, and then you just click next, and then it will prompt you to Huawei devices. So on Huawei devices, the system automatically picks all the Huawei devices that are connected to the system. So when you go to the next step on Huawei devices, you just click auto search, then the system will automatically search and pick all these Huawei devices, that is inverters. If you are using a Huawei power meter, it will automatically pick up the meter. If you are using anything which is Huawei related, the system will automatically pick that. So on Huawei devices, all you need is to auto search, and then after it is auto searched, then you would confirm to confirm all the devices that are there. If not all the devices, if not all your devices are picked, then you can research again, or you can add them manually. We'll cover that as well on our next slides as well. And then after Huawei devices, your next step will be power meter. So on power meter, basically, for our systems that we distribute, we usually distribute with the Anita meter, which is the UMG 103 without a screen, 104 with the screen, and then or we distribute with the smart sensor, which is the Huawei meter. It will be automatically be picked up on Huawei Sage. If not so, then you can add it manually on the next step, which is the power meter. So on power meter, you need to set the COM port to which you connected the power meter on the logger. The baud rate, default baud rate is 9,600. Parity bit and stop bit, you leave them as default, which is non-stop bit 1. And then you select the type of meter that you used. So for the Anita, all our Anita meter, they use the same Modbus protocol. So you select Anita 103, 104, or UMG 604. And then the voltage ratio, for the CNI, we don't have any voltage transformers and all that. So the ratio is supposed to be 400 volts from the grid will be read as 400 grid on the logger. And then current ratio. If you are using any CT ratios, you need to calculate a current ratio. So to calculate a current ratio is primary winding rating divided by secondary winding rating. So we have encountered other instances where the installer would actually, current ratio, then you would simply set the primary winding of his CTs. Then you would have magnified current and power readings on your logger. So make sure for the current ratio is calculated as primary rating divided by secondary rating. So if you have 100 to 5 CT, then your rating will be 100 divided by 5, which is 20. And then the address you have to match the address with that of the meter. If your power meter you set it to address 10, then the address that you need to set here is 10 as well. Make sure this address, as I said, it's unique from all other devices connected on the smart locker. That is inverters, EMIs, and all that. The address has to be unique. After that, then you just click add device, and then you go to next. So the next step will be EMIs. If you have any weather station, then you can set them up, and then the next step will be Huawei NMS. Huawei NMS. Let me check. Yeah, and then the next step will be the Huawei NMS. Unfortunately, sorry about that. I missed the slide for the NMS, but basically on the NMS status, you'll be setting these settings, which is the server address, the SG5.Fusion Solar, and then you need to set the port number as well, and then you need to set your SSL encryption to enable, and then basically that's all. So the management system, which is the NMS status, you need to set your Fusion Solar, server address, which is sg5.fusionsolar.huawei.com, and then you need to set the port number, which is 27250, and then you need to set the SSL encryption to enable. It comes enabled as default, so there is nothing to change. And then and then you need to set it as logical address. So basically all you need to change is the server and the port number. Everything you leave them as default. After that, then you submit and click next. And then third-party NMS, if you are using the Huawei Smartlogger with any other third-party devices, that is, if you are pushing your data to an FTP server, then you can set it up here. Or if you are using third-party devices, usually for our hybrid controller for genset integration, we use in Combi. So it's a third-party device, so the logger will be actually getting commands from it. So you need to set it up there. If not so, then you just select skip. And then on third-party devices as well, if you don't have any third-party device, then you select skip and finish. So after you have finished, it will basically go to your overview page. The overview page basically shows your inverter current production and statistical values. So all these settings that are on deployment wizard, they can be accessed on settings. So all the settings that we are setting on deployment, you can access them on settings by clicking settings on the top window, and then selecting so the user parameter. On your left side, you would have a tab. So the first tab will be user parameter, as you can see on the left, which is your date and time. You can set your plan name, your revenue, the type of currency that you are using, and then the save period is basically the upload rate, your upload rate to the Fusion Solar. By default, the logger would upload data to the Fusion management system after every 5 minutes. So if you would want your logger to your smart logger to be uploading data to the Fusion Solar at much more frequent rate, then you can reduce it. But however, it means more data will be transferred per given time to the server. So it will simply means your logger will be using more of your internet data to push data to the server. And then on COM parameter, you basically access all the other settings that we set on deployment wizard. Wireless network, if you are using a 4G card, then you prompt on wireless. You would prompt on wireless, and then you would need to basically set your mobile data settings, the APN and all that, but preferably the APN, you set it as automatic, then the system would automatically pick up the APN connection mode and all that. And then on wired network, that's where you set the IP address of the smart locker. Unfortunately, sorry about that. For our session, I arranged a live smart locker. However, I couldn't manage to get the login details that by the time of our webinar. So some of these slides, I actually I'd expected that would configure them like on a live smart locker. So I have some missing slides here, but however, I'll add the slides when we are uploading when we are sharing this slide. I would add those slides to it as well, and then I would actually I'll actually do live commissioning guide, a small video clip, and then we would share the link on our YouTube channel. Then you can get a video now to set the logger as well. So on wired network, that's where you set your logger one settings, the WAN. That is the port that connects to the internet. So when you know your IP address for the internet that you are going to use on wired network, if you go on wired network, it will prompt a page with default one settings, which is 192.168.0.8. You need to change those settings to be in the range with that of your internet. So you need to change the IP address to be in the range with the internet. For instance, let's say your internet is 10.0.3 something, then you need to change from 192.168.8 to 10.0.3 any number on the system, and then you need to match your subnet mask and default gateway to be the same with that of your internet. So after that, after that, then you submit. For primary DNS server and secondary DNS server, preferably use the Google DNS server, which is 8.8.8.8, or alternatively, you can use 8.8.4.4. All those are Google DNS servers. So on primary DNS server and secondary DNS server, then you can set up the Google DNS servers. And then RS485, there is nothing much to change on the RS5 ports. You leave them as default, unless if you want to change the baud rate of the port to match the meter or your EMIs, or if you need to change the parity bit and the stop bit. But however, all the RS5 part, you run them as default, because 9600 parity bit none, stop bit 1 is the default communication protocol for RS485 devices. And then on power meter, if you go to settings, power meter, basically you would access the same parameters that you get when you are setting up the power meter, which is the voltage ratio and the current ratio. So on power meter, if you want to change your current ratio, you can do so on settings, power meter. Then you can change your current ratio and your COM address and your voltage ratio. On settings management system, is the settings where you set your server address and the port number for your Smartlogger to connect to the server. So when your internet that you are using is connected on one port on WAN, and you have set your logger to be in the range with your internet on wired network, when you set the management system and submit, at the bottom it will give you an NMS status connected, which simply means the logger is now connected to the Fusion Solar. So whenever after completing your settings, you need to check if your management system NMS status is connected. Then when you are now registering the system on Fusion Solar, you'll be able to pick the system. If the NMS status is not connected, if you log into the Fusion Solar to create a plant, you won't be able to locate the logger and the system online. And then Modbus TCP, on Modbus TCP, basically that's where you set your third-party devices. If you are using any third-party device, that's where you set up, well, that's where you enable third-party devices. And then for all your settings in terms of FTP server, IE 103, 104, usually we don't use this in our region. So to set if your client wants to push your Smartlogger data to his private FTP server, then you set up his server there. And then if you intend to receive notifications or updates from the logger on your email, then you can set up your email there. Then the logger would actually prompt, if it has an alarms and all that, it will quickly send you emails to notify you as well. So that's basically on settings com parameter. And then the other major setting that you do with the logger is to set the export limit. Export limit is one of the major things that you need to set, especially if you're in a region where you're not allowed to feed back to the grid. To do so, you need to go to settings. That is after you have set up everything on your system. When your meter is connected, and then when your inverters are all connected, then you can set up the export limit. To set up the export limit, you would go to settings and then power adjustment on the left, and then click on export limitation. So on export limitation, as you can see on the main tab, the first prompt will be power meter. So the moment you select export limitation, a dial-up page will pop up prompting you to confirm if the power meter that you used is compatible with export limiting. If you are using one of our meters that we distribute, that is the Units or the HUAWEI smart sensor, then you select OK to prompt that. And then if you say OK, then it will prompt you for inverters. If the inverters are compatible with export limiting, in this case, will be using HUAWEI inverters. So all of them, they are compatible with export limiting. And then you select next to confirm that the inverters, they can do export limiting. And then the third section will be export limitation parameters. So by default, without export limitation being sent, active power control mode will be set to no limit. So basically, you have to click on no limit, and then a drop-down menu, a drop-down page will come up, and then you select export limitation and submit. So the moment you submit export limitation, more options at the bottom will be prompted. The first one being the power meter. So the power meter, then you need to select, it would be none by default. Then you need to select smart meter. And then the other option that will be there will be your maximum export value, maximum export kilowatt. So if you are not fitting back to the grid, then you leave it at default at 0. If you intend to only fit in 10 kilowatt to the grid, then you can set it to 10 kilowatt. But if you are setting it for 0 export, then there are only two settings that you need to change. That is the power meter, select it to smart meter. The maximum grid export value, then you set it to preferential. For 0 export, you set it to 0 or preferred value. And then all other settings, you leave them as default. Then you submit. And then basically to give you a dial-up page to say settings configured. From there, your system will be set up for export limiting. If your production is greater than your load consumption, then the system will throttle and make sure that there is 0 kilowatt at tie-in point where your meter is located. So basically, those are the major settings that you need to set on the logger. And then you can monitor. For monitoring using the logger, you can actually view your individual device performance. So on overview, you view basically you view like the combined production for all the inverters, all the daily productions like the yield and all that. For individual inverter, for individual readings, so for individual system readings, then you would go on monitoring. So if you click on monitoring on the left side, it will list all the devices that are connected to the locker. The first one being the locker itself. So the locker basically it gives out combined results. That is for the inverters, it will give total input power from total PVs for all the inverters, total active power for all the inverters and all that. And then if you are to view individual inverter performance, then you need to click on the specific inverter on the left. So if you click on that inverter on the main page, it will give you the specific values for the inverter. That is the currents, the current for each phases, and then the power for each inverter, like the input power PV, the output power, the power factors, and all that for each individual inverter. So you can actually carry out inverter level monitoring, and you can actually view active alarms for that specific inverter. You can actually switch on and off the inverter. At the top right, you would have the shutdown and power on command for all the inverters. And then if you click on the meter, it will also show you the meter readings, that is the current for the meters. So whenever you're setting up a HUAWEI installation, before powering on the inverters, or when the inverters are running, switch all the inverters off, either by switching off the AC side such that the inverters do not produce, or you can switch off the inverters on the Smartlogger by going to monitoring, selecting the inverter on the right, clicking on it, and then clicking the shutdown command on the top right page, and then the inverters will switch off. When inverters are off, they would shed yellow on the left side. If inverters are connected and producing, they will shed green. If any of the devices loses communication, it sheds gray. So when inverters are off, they will shed yellow. From there, then you can go on meter and then make sure that all your currents are reading positive. Because in most scenarios, installers will confirm current readings while the inverter is running. Then you measure with a clamp meter his phases, gets, let's say, 5 kilowatts, and then on the Smartlogger, then you can actually see phase A is 5 kilowatt. Then it says it's okay. However, that 5 kilowatt might be a fit into the grid, which is the wrong reading. So before confirming when you are to confirm your city meter readings, make sure the current at the meter is flowing in the same direction. That can be achieved if you switch off your inverters. It means the loads, all the power that is supplied to the loads is being taken from the grid. So it means all the current at the tying point is flowing from the grid into the system. From there, then you can easily identify which of the cities are connected in reverse. Then you can correct that, and you can actually clamp your power at the incomer and make sure you are reading the same power readings. If not so, if the readings on the logger are different from that we are reading on the clamp meter, then just cross-check your city ratio. Just go to settings, power meter, confirm if you have the correct city ratio to those that are set on the or to the actual city ratio of the current transformers that you are using. And then please note, when you are using a UMG 104, if you set the ratio on the meter, because the meter is a screen, so you can easily set the ratio on it. If you set the current ratios on the meter, the city ratio on the Smartlogger has to be 1. or else if you set it on the meter and you set it again on the logger, your current ratio will be amplified, because when the logger receives the value from the meter, it will just apply that that ratio. Then it means your actual reading will be having the ratio squared, which will be way magnified. So whenever you are confirming your meter readings on monitoring with your actual readings, make sure that the inverter production is 0. Your current at the tie-in point is flowing in the same direction, that is from grid to your loads. Then you can confirm the CT direction, and then you can confirm the actual readings if they are within the same range with the clamp meter readings. But make sure that your clamp meter is calibrated and it's reading correct, because you might have a clamp meter which is reading wrong, and you adjust the ratios to get wrong values as well. So this is basically monitoring. So that's monitoring on running info. You get the real-time information of your devices connected on the logger. If you go to monitoring and select, and then you select the inverter. If you click on the inverter at the top, on the main page at the top, you get there are more. You get more options. Or for a specific inverter. So if you are on logger, you only get running info. But if you click on or if you select an inverter, like in this case, if you select an inverter at the main page at the top, you actually get more options for the inverters. So the running info, which is the first one, will give you like the real-time values of the inverter. The active alarm will give you the active alarms that the specific inverter is currently having, and then the performance data basically to give you the historical data of the inverter, and same as on yield. And then on running parameters, you can actually change the grid code or protection parameters for inverters on the Smartlogger. So when you're on monitoring, you select the inverter on the right, then you select running parameters. Then it will prompt you it will give you options to change your grid code, your protection values, that is the over voltage, over current, your isolation values. So basically all the protection parameters that you'd carry out on Smartlogger special user, you can then access them on the Smartlogger under running parameters when you select specific inverters. Then you can adjust in case where your grid is high, it's quite high. Then you can actually adjust your tolerance to that as well. And then if you are to change parameters on the meter on the inverters, at the bottom there is an option for batch configurations. Let's say you have 20 inverters on your chain. If you want to change the grid code to configure them manually one by one, it will be quite laborious. So you can actually select batch configuration at the bottom of the main page, and then you tick on the inverters that you'd want to apply those settings to. If it's all inverters, then you just select all, and then you say confirm. So after setting this, when you go to monitoring, running parameters, let's say you want to change, for instance, for the 60 kTLs, under voltage level 3, it's wrongly set at 230. You want to change it to 115. So on running parameter, you go to under voltage level 3, you change your value from 230 to 115. And on your side, you have 10 inverters. So it will be quite laborious to go one by one on each inverter. So you just go to page configurations and then select all and then say confirm. So all those settings that you had set will be applied across all the inverters that you would have selected. So you can actually set all your parameters on the Smartlogger as well. And then one other thing that is mostly required of the installer is device logs, downloading device logs. So you can actually download your inverter logs, your Smartlogger logs on the Smartlogger. So you need to go to maintenance, and then on the left, then you select device logs. On device logs, then you select the inverter that you'd want to download logs for. If you are to download for the smart logger, then you tick on, you select on logger, and then at the bottom, then you say and then you export logs. So the system would actually download logs, and then after download is complete, then you select log archiving to save into your computer, so that you'll be able to share them with us. On maintenance, you can actually add, delete a device. So if you go to maintenance and then say connect device, then you can manually add a device. So if you say maintenance, connect device on the left, so it will be maintenance, device management, and then connect device. And then you can now add, remove a device from the log. So if you want to add a device manually, you can use this option: maintenance, connect device, add device. You select the device that you want to add, inverter, smart meter, or what. And actually for our devices, there is an option on the main window. There is an option to auto search. Then you can just auto search. Then the system will automatically pick up all the HUAWEI devices connected to the system as well. And then to upgrade firmware on the logger, you can do that on maintenance. You can upgrade firmware for all your inverters, or you can upgrade on individual inverters. So if you are to upgrade for multiple inverters, so if you go to maintenance, top first selection at the top is firmware upgrade. You select on that. It will prompt you to select the inverter that you would want to upgrade. So you can select whether batch upgrade or single upgrade at the top page main. And then if it's batch, then you select all the inverters that you want to upgrade the firmware. And then you click on browse. Then it will prompt you to your computer, and then you select the folder. You select the zipped file of the firmware that you want to upgrade to, and then you click upload. Then the logger would automatically would automatically start to upgrade those inverters. After you've done upgrading, then it will prompt you for a status in terms of completed, or if it failed, then it will show you if it's failed. And then usually if the firmware version is the same with the current one, then it will, or a lower one, then it will give you a failed report with a reason why the upgrade actually failed. And then as I said yesterday on our product overview, that with the smart logger, you can actually utilize the digital inputs. So you can actually use external devices like an emergency stop to drive your inverters off or powered on. You can actually have other external analog or digital inputs to control your system. So when those are wired to the logger, then you can actually set them up for what you want to use them for. So you need to go to settings and then try contact settings, which is try contact remote, and then you set what kind of input is it. Is it a normally open, normally closed? What do you want to use it? Do you want it to enable shutdown, or do you want to enable alarm as well, or you want it to enable an alarm only, and so forth. So that's basically how you would set up external analog and digital inputs to control your system from, or to actually use on your digital outputs. You can actually use the system to drive external devices as well. So that was so basically that's all on Smartlogger commissioning. So we'll quickly jump into Fusion Solar app commissioning. So you can commission the system as well on Fusion Solar. In cases where you are using a smart dongle 4G, commission can be done when you are using Fusion Solar smart dongle. Commission can be done on the Fusion Solar app. So to download the Fusion Solar app, unfortunately for latest Android versions, you cannot access that on Google Store. As I've said, that's an issue way beyond control. That due to the economic trade war between China and States, Google omitted a couple of Chinese applications. So to download the Fusion Solar app, you need to go to you can go to your Play Store on any web browser, download an app gallery app. It's a HUAWEI app store. It operates the same way as the Google Play Store. It has a red icon with a basket like written HUAWEI. So from there, then you can download all the HUAWEI applications in your new Android versions. The same applies for all the Android versions. You can actually use these steps to download your apps. So if you download your Fusion Solar app, the first thing you need to do, to commission a system, you need to have a Fusion Solar account. So if you are a new user, then you can when your app, you can actually select account registration. Then you register your account. It will prompt you to fill in your details, your company details, and then to send an activation mail to the email address you used, and then you need to log into your email address and activate the account. After which, then you can log into your Fusion Solar account. In your Fusion Solar account, I'm not sure if it's quite clear. The home page is the one at the bottom row left, where Fusion Solar, that's where you would input your login details, and your login details, and then you log into it. So the second page with showing setup wizard, a new user, that will be your home page the moment you log in. Basically, to display your plans, all your plans that you have installed that are under your portal, and then the status in terms of how many are running, how many are normal, how many are fault, and all that. So if you want to add a new user, let's say you want to create a user for your client, you just click on new user, and then it will actually prompt you to select the plant that you want to link the user to, and you can actually grant him a status in terms of like the role. So the Fusion Solar has 3 distinct roles, which is installer role. Installer role can actually do settings, change some parameters on the system for remote control and all that. And any owner role is a more of an observer role, so he cannot change anything. He's there to monitor only. And then the third role is a guest. A guest basically would have limited functions. You won't see much. You just see the inverter production and all that. So that's how you add a new user to your Fusion Solar for your plans and all that. So in this case, we are mainly focusing on commissioning. I would share a document on the user manual on the Fusion Solar app as well, with the slides. So when you're commissioning a system using a Fusion Solar app, a Fusion Solar app is similar to the Sun 2000 app. Actually, it's an app. In the near future, I'm sure it will replace the Sun 2000. because it has more functions compared to the Sun 2000. The Sun 2000 can only configure the inverter, but with the Fusion Solar app, you can actually configure the inverters as well as you can register the plant and you can register your plant. So it's an all-in-one application. So after I've logged in into your Fusion Solar, the home page will be the make screenshot where it shows you your setup wizard, new user, and your active plants. So if you are to commission a plant using a VLAN adapter, the VLAN adapter will be connected. So each inverter is supplied with adapter. Currently, we are using the VLAN adapter, which is a USB 2000C. So it broadcasts a VLAN network. So when your inverter is powered on, then you can actually connect it to the inverter. If you are using a smart dongle and you have multiple inverters daisy chained, so you would need to connect the USB adapter to the master inverter, which is the master inverter being the inverter that you would connect your smart dongle, being the inverter where all your other inverters are daisy chained to, being the inverter that your power meter is wired to. So that's your master inverter. So you connect your your 2000 dongle on the master inverter, and then when you are logged into your Sun 2000, then you select Setup Wizard. If you click on Setup Wizard, it will prompt you for a scan, like the last page on the screenshot. So you can actually scan the QR code on the adapter 2000, and then from there, then you can access the inverter. Or alternatively, which is deemed to be a simpler way for many installers, when you are on the scan page, select click on device commissioning at the bottom, the one blue. When you click on device commissioning at the bottom, it will prompt you for a connect page. So basically, this is manual connection to the inverter, right? So it will prompt you for a connect page, which is the first screenshot on your left, and then tap on the connect button, on the blue region, the white circle. Tap on it. It will prompt you for you to scan as well, which is the second icon, second screenshot from the left, with the manual connection at the bottom, and then click on that manual connection status at the bottom. Then it will prompt you to the next screenshot where it will be manual connection at the top, and then it will show you 3 different types of connections that you can use to connect to the logger. The first one being VLAN. So if you are using a smart dongle 2000, or you are using for lower range inverters like the 12 to 20 in the C&I, they use they have a built-in VLAN. So you can actually select VLAN, and then connect with the default password change me, or you can use Bluetooth. If you have a Bluetooth dongle, then you can select Bluetooth. If you are using a USB data cable, then you can select USB data cable. Actually, USB cable is proven to be much better for many installers. So when you select USB cable, it will ask you for a password. So the default password is 5 zeros and then A. When you log in, then it will open a page with quick settings. Basically to open a Sun 2000 homepage for local commissioning. So for quick settings, if you are opening for the first, if you are connected to the inverter for the first time, it will prompt you for quick settings, which is basically the same settings that we sent on Sun 2000, which is the grid code, which will be the grid code, the COM address, the baud rate, and all that. After you've set up your quick settings, you click next. So basically, it has a small deployment wizard scenario as well. So after clicking your quick settings, you click next. Then it will prompt you to cascade devices. When you are comparing to the Smartlogger, this is HUAWEI devices. So on this section, you can actually add or automatically search for other HUAWEI devices in the system. So you just tap on cascade inverters, then the system would actually automatically search for other inverters on the daisy chain that are connected to the master inverter, right? And then if you have only one inverter, then you can just skip this step. So basically, after you've after you've completed your search, it will list all the inverters that are connected on your daisy chain. After that, then you click finish, and then after I've clicked finish, then it will basically list the inverters that you had said. Then you select on power meter, then you add your power meter. So you click on power meter, it will pop up a dial-up on the meter type that you are using and the COM address that you are using. So you set your meter type, your COM address, and then you confirm. So and then after that, if all your inverters that you are on the system, you can actually view them on the page, and the power meter you can actually view it, whether it's a smart meter or a meter. Then you click next. So if you click next, finish, sorry, it will basically go back to your home screen. So the first page on this, the first screenshot on this slide is that's the home page of the commissioning page. So basically it will show you the active power, which is the current inverter production, the yield for the day, which is the cumulative for the day, the monthly, and then the total since installation, and then alarm management. So alarm management is the same feature as the Sun 2000. Quick settings, if you want to do quick settings, there is an option for that. And then there is maintenance, and then there is device monitoring. Device monitoring, if you want to access each individual device inverter on the daisy chain, you can go on device monitoring. And then maintenance, we'll quickly look into that, onto that or our next screenshot. And then there are settings. If you want to change your settings, just like the same as the Sun 2000. And then if you need to do export control, you do it on power adjustment. We'll quickly look into that on our next slide. So on device maintenance, if you are to add the meter manual, which is the common use for maintenance, you can on your device commissioning, then you can go to maintenance, select add device, and then select which device you want to add in this power meter. In this case, we are in the C&I, so we don't have a battery, but if you're in the residential, then you can add a battery. In the C&I, then you select add meter, click the plus, and then it will prompt you for the meter type and the COM address, and then you finish as well. So basically, on the Fusion Solar app, all the settings that you do on Sun 2000 and all the settings that you do on the Smartlogger, you can actually perform them combined on the Fusion Solar app. So everything that you can do on maintenance on the Smartlogger, you can do it on maintenance on Fusion Solar, and so on. And then to set export control on Fusion Solar app, then on commissioning, you go to power adjustment, then you select a grid type pro, which is basically the tie-in point control. For security, it will prompt you for a Fusion Solar password, for a password for the inverter, sorry, not for the Fusion Solar app, for the inverter. By default, it's 5 zeros and an A, and then you confirm. Then then from there you can set which you can set your export limit. In this case, we limit active power. Then you select active power, and then you select the control mode. Usually for zero export power, then you select a total power on control mode, and then you select 0 kilowatts, and then you submit. Then your inverter will perform active power control through the smart dongle in this case. And then to set the management system for the smart dongle using the Fusion Solar app, you need to click on settings, and then click on communication configuration, And then on communication, then you select management system, and then on management system, then you can set those NMS server address SG5.Fusion Solar and the port number. And then for the dongle network settings, and then you would go on 4G or GPRS and set everything to automatic. Then the system will automatically pick up the APN address, unless if you are aware of the specific APN address that your 4G card provider uses. Then you can set to manual and manually enter those details, but preferably set 4G settings to automatic, basically on DHCP. Then the system will automatically pick up the APN mode to connect to the internet. So basically that's the settings on it. So when you are configuring the smart dongle, first you use the USB 2000, which is the VLAN dongle. You set up everything, set up the management system, set up your meter, your export limit control, basically set up everything, your inverters. After then you remove the dongle and then the VLAN dongle, and then you plug back the, and then you can plug the smart dongle 4G. So the smart dongle 4G, it doesn't come with a 4G card, so you need to acquire one 4G card from your network provider, load it with data, preferably. Most guys, they prefer contract lines, such that every month the network provider will automatically load data to the SIM card. Because the moment the SIM card runs out of data, then you would lose data. It won't upload. It won't upload to the server. So you need to remove your VLAN dongle and then plug in the smart dongle 4G, secure it. It has a screw nut on it, and then you just secure it, since it will be installed on the inverter for a long time. If you have cascading inverter, this dongle has to be installed on the master inverter, and this dongle this dongle has to be installed on the inverter to which the management systems were set to. So the moment you plug in the dongle has an LED indication on it. Basically, it's two, which is the red and green. So when the LED is off, so it means the dongle it's normal and it's not powered on, right? And then when it's yellow, which is basically green and red blinking simultaneously, it means the dongle, it's when the yellow is steady on, so it means the dongle is secured and is powered on. So usually you get the yellow part on your initial start up. After then, if it illuminates green, if it's blinking every 2 seconds, blinking in a 2-second cycle, on for a microsecond, and then off for a longer time, just like a small blink gets off for a longer time and all that. It's normal if the duration is less than a minute, right? It's abnormal if the duration is longer than a minute. Then probably you need to check your management settings if they are set up correctly. If it's blinking at long intervals, that is 1 second off, 1 second on, it's dial up, it will be simply checking your network provider connection on dial up. So if it happens for less than 30 seconds after initial install, then it means it's still dialing up. If the duration is longer than 30 seconds, then you need to check your settings, your management system settings, or that is your SG5 and the port number. And then if for the one which it blinks for a short time or for a longer time, you need to check your 4G parameters, which is the make sure they are set on automatic. If the system is steady on, steady green, then it means the system is normal and it's connected to the server. And then from there, you can go on to your Fusion Solar to register the plan. And then if it's blinking in short intervals, like for microseconds fast, like blinking green fast, then it means the dongle is communicating to the server. It's transmitting data. Whenever you see a red thing, a red blink or red light, it means the system is not okay. If it's steady red, then it's fault. Probably replace the dongle. Blinking at short intervals, check on a SIM card, and all that. All these dates are provided with, they are covered on the manual, and they are provided with the manual as well. So take note of the blinking, and make sure it blinks green fast or solid green. From then it means the dongle it has been commissioned successfully. And then after you've set up, when your dongle, if you are using the smart dongle 4G, when your dongle set up solid green, if you are using the Smartlogger, your NMS status is connected, then your next step will be to register the system for online monitoring. Please note that to connect to the Fusion Solar website for remote monitoring, you would need to connect on the server that you used to connect. So when you are searching on Fusion Solar, you search for the server that we use. For our region, we use SG5 server, which is sg5.fusionsolar.huawei.com. So when you are connecting, when you want to log into a Fusion Solar platform, make sure you log into the correct server. If you log into a wrong server, which is the EU5, the most common one, is for European region, you won't be able to locate your system there. So make sure you log into sg5.fusion solar. So after then you can go to your browser. This you can do it at the comfort of your home or workshop. You don't need to be site, as long your server is your NMS stepwise is connected, your smart dongle is blinking, it's solid green, and if you are using Logger, your Ethernet cable is connected to WAN port, and the network source is internet. Or if you are using 4G, make sure your data line is your 4G card is data. Then there's no need for you to be on site. You can set it up. So you need to just log into any browser, preferably Internet Explorer. So you make sure you log into the SG5 server. So you need to type in that server address. It's quite a hassle, especially in the first time, to locate the SG5 server. It's a new server. I'm not sure why. On Google search, I think it's because of the trade war thing. It's hard to locate it. So if you have any problem with locating the SG5, you can just let us know. Would share with you the link to the server. So if you log into the SG5 server, so if it's a first system, then you need to go for installer registration. So on installer registration, it will prompt you, like I had said on the app, to prompt you to fill in your personal details, your company details, your email address. After that, you submit your username that you would use, your password, and then you need to confirm, and then all that. When you submit, it will send an email to your email address that you used. Once you send the email, when you log into your email, and then it will you activate the account, then it will come and prompt you to log in. So what I'll do, I'll quickly get to one of the sites that we have. Let me check this one. Okay. So this system is for one of our clients. He has a couple of systems. I'm sure now he has 4. So when you log in, it will prompt you to the home page. It's such a heavy website, so it takes some bit of time to log in. So this is your home page. So basically you have your major tiles, which is our home page, your report management, device management, and then your intelligent O&M. So on home page, basically to display your total plans, like total plans, number of plans, how many are offline, how many are faulty, how many faults do you have for all the sites you have, your current total production for all your sites, your total daily production for all your sites, and then at the bottom it will list all your sites and their ratings and all that. And then so to view the specific sites, you need to click on any of the sites. So if you just click, it will just open another page on the next for those specific sites. So if you are new, you've just set up a new system, you log in, you want to set up the system, then you would go on add plant, right? So on add plant, basically it will prompt you for all the steps needed. So you need to complete all these sections. So on company, so before you don't type in the company on company, you need to wait for the fetch to first load. After it is loaded successfully, it will show a search icon. If you put your cursor there, it will prompt you the companies that you have registered. Or so with HUAWEI as the main holder of the account, you can assign different installing companies and create companies for them. So whenever they register a system as the main VIP account, you would view the settings, and you as a VIP account, you can actually register a system under them. So in this case, this installer is only one account registered. So you just select on the account, and then you type in the plant name that you want to select, the installed capacity for your PV in terms of kilowatt, the grid connection time you select on the calendar, and then the contact person, which is basically installer's name and preferably the installer's number. After then you tick, and then you click next. Sorry, it actually needs a number. Okay, 3, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. I'll quickly just input my number, and then after that it will prompt you to the next page, which is access device. So on access device, basically it will prompt for access device. It will basically prompt you to search for the Smartlogger. It will basically prompt you, sorry about that. It will basically prompt you for the Smartlogger. So you would need to type in the serial number of your Smartlogger that you set up. When you type it, when the moment you press enter, it will show you the device type and the model of it. After then it will, and then you click next. It needs a device type. Let me see if I can get a Smartlogger serial number. Okay, let me quickly do this. Let me go to okay. So this is basically the same page, the one that you would have when you are adding plant. So here I just went on modifying such that we'll be able to go through all the sections. So to access the device, the moment you put the serial number, whether it's a smart lock or a smart dongle, the system would show your device type, and then okay, just a second. Okay, yeah. So basically to show the device serial number, the type of the device and the model of it. After then you click next, it will go to string configuration. This kind of string configuration, it will show all the devices that are connected to that smart dongle. In this case, this client has one inverter for this site. From there, after I've acknowledged that all your devices that are connected to the system are visible, then you click next. It will go to pricing. Then you can set your price for your tariffs and all that, for energy, for power, for profit calculations and all that. After then you click next, then to go to other information. On other information, then you need to just set the region of your system. If you have your photo for your system, you upload and all that, your time zone, and then you save. After you saved, then your system would appear on your on your home page. So to view the specific system, if you select the system, then it will specifically open a new tab where to specifically show you the production for that specific plant. So it will show an SOD showing your power meter, what the meter is reading, the inverter production, the PV production, the inverter output. So usually our inverters, they have an efficiency of at least 97%. So 97% of PV coming from PV, it's usually cascaded to, it's usually converted to output. So it will basically show you how much you are feeding back to the grid and all that. So these small circles will actually show the direction of flow of current. And then it will show you power calculations, to plot a graph for your consumption, your PV production, your self-consumption. So self-consumption basically is the amount of PV you produced that is used by the system. And then it will actually show you if you are exporting, how much you have exported, how much power has been consumed for the day and all that. And then you can score for different days and all that. And then for the specific plant, you can go to plant layout. If you have optimizers, or if you have sketched your site SLT, then you can view it on plant layout. Most commercial, you don't have a optimizer, so that is much for a residential view. And then on report management, you can actually view plant reports. That is for the total plant, the production for the day. You can select it as a daily view, a monthly, a yearly, and so on. And then there is a tab which shows for the specific hour how much was produced in this. Okay, so I set it for the month. So for the day, to show you for every hour. At night there was no PV, nothing was exported. The inverter started producing, and then there was a little bit of export and all that. So you can get those data for daily, month, yearly, and life cycle. That is since installation. That's plant report. You can get inverter report as well. Get specific inverter, like the inverter report in terms of production and all that. And then if you have for residential scenarios where you have a battery, you can get a battery report. You can subscribe to get report emails. You can subscribe to get report emails every depending daily or every 12 hour. The system can actually can actually send you plant report for the plant that you'd want to get reports for. We can actually download the logs by clicking on export, and then you can actually you can actually download the logs. As you can see, if you click on export at the bottom, it will prompt you to download for the specific day, month. You can actually download an Excel sheet with all the plant report or plant inverter report on it. On device management, you can actually get to view the status of individual devices. Since this site is using a smart logger, as a smart dongle, so it means the power meter is connected to the inverter. So you would get an arrow on the inverter, which where the other devices are connected. If you have more than one inverter and inverters that is chained to the master inverter, on the log the dongle would only register the master, but all other devices connected to the master, you can view them under the master. In this case, if the meter is connected to the master, then the meter you can actually view it under the master. So you can expand or collapse the master inverter log. If communication status, if all communication on inverters it's okay, it shades green, and then you can actually view individual status of those devices. If you click on it, you can actually view the real-time data for the inverters, the PV voltage, string voltages and all that connected, the current, can actually view the voltage, the current active power, the daily cumulative and all that for the inverters. You can actually view device information, that is the serial number, the firmware version, and all that. You can actually view alarms related to the specific inverter. Um, so you can get alarms when they were created, if they were recovered or not, and all that. And for every alarm, you can actually get a recovery suggestion for your troubleshooting. When inverter is an alarm, you can log in, go to recovery suggestion, then it will tell you the alarm cause, the probable causes of the alarm, and the probable recovery suggestions that you can perform to clear the alarms. So in this case, mainly alarms for this system is grid loss due to load shedding of late. And then you can get historical information in terms of or in terms of the system. This is the inverter performance, active power, and total power, and all that. So that's basically much on the inverter. So you can view the same for the meter. So you can actually if you go to device management, click on click on the specific meter. You can actually view your meter readings as well, the real time. So the real time values for the meter. These are the real time values. The real time values, that is the current being measured at the tie-in point, the voltages and all that. And then on alarm management, you can actually view the combined alarms, not for the specific device, but for the whole system. That is whether it's a dongle alarm, whether it's a inverter, emitter alarm. So by default, it shows activated alarms. So status, you simply have to select preferential. If you select all and search all basically all the alarms that are related to the system will be listed. As you can see, there are grid losses, the meter. Our smart dongle had also an alarm. You can get the cause of it, and then you can actually get the recovery suggestions and all that. So that's basically individual plant monitoring. So on your if you intend to open an account for the end user, for the owner to view the account, you need to go to settings. This is one of the major functions that people use. You go to settings and then go to user management, and then on user management, then Then after it is loaded, it will show you the company that is there, and then to show you all the users that has been registered on the system. So if you want to add the user, yeah, if you select the company, it will show you the. So and then you select your company, then you select add, and then on adding, then you select you create a username for him, and then his phone number, the description, maybe is the engineer, and then his email address, and then the company. So the company basically, if the system is you select the system to which the company to which the system is registered to. After then on rows, then you need to select. Okay, let me just input or let me click on modify. I'll click on modify. Okay. Um, so this is one client who has been granted access. So that's his username. You prompt a password for him. So his phone number, his description, and all that. So once you fill in the top details on roll, it gives you which role are you entitled to this user. So as installers, you can actually create an installer account. One of the colleagues, you give him his own login details and all that, and then you give him an installer role. So basically you'd have more authority, same as yours on that specific system that you assign to. In this case, this is an owner. And then after selecting the role, you need to select associated plans. And then on associated plans, then you need to select the plant which you want him, that you would wish to assign to him. So in this case, this installer is from Edward Stein plant. So that's the plant that he's been assigned to. So it means when he logs into his account, he has an owner role, which is limited functions, and he can only view the plant which is assigned to. In case where you are all installers and everyone has his own login details, so it means on associate plans, then you can actually select all the plans such that the installer has also authority across at all the plans as well. Or if it's a company with different contractors, then that specific company, you can actually assign systems that they've only installed. So they can only view their own systems, whilst you as the account manager, like the major account holder, you can view all the systems that all your subdivisions are installing. So that's one of the major things that people do carry out on Fusion Solar. And then on the intelligent OM, that's where you would view like the combined, like the plant system. You can actually view real-time status combined for all systems, view your systems on the map, get alarm management for all of your plants. That's where you can perform things like IV curve diagnosis and all that. So when you have licenses for a site for IV curve, then you can come on Fusion Solar at the comfort of your home, click IV curve, start your configuration. If you have the license, then you do your report. Then the system would actually give you the report of the site. Then you would know how your inverters are performing, how your strings are performing, and all those things. So that's basically the major set things that people, like the primary functions that people perform on the Fusion Solar. So the same, although with the different design, different view, same functions can be viewed on the Fusion Solar, except the intelligent IOM. This you can only view it on the website. So yeah, so that's almost all about our webinar today. If you have any questions, You can send on the chat box, or you can just unmute and then air out your questions. Then I'll be there to respond. Okay. 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 Yes. Please. There is a question on the chat box. Does the system have a memory to save data when it's offline? Yes, the system, the smart locker saves data. On the inverters save the inverters and the smart lockers, they save data. In case you lose connection, when the system automatically is supposed to update the data on the server when it regains network. If it doesn't do so, then you can do that on your Fusion Solar. All you need is to synchronize historic data. Then it will automatically pull the data from the inverters and the logger, and then upload them to the monitoring portal. I hope that will be off. Any other questions? You can just quickly unmute your mic and then air out the question, and then you can quickly respond to that. If there are no any other questions, sorry, the webinar took way longer than anticipated. I thought to like to go in detail, step by step, on the commissioning, because actually it's installing the inverter is not a problem. As they say, electrical is it's 4 wires, 3 lives in the neutral, and then earth as an addition, and DC is just the positive and the negative. But much hiccups come during the commissioning part and setting it up for the Fusion Solar, such that your client can have a view for his site and all that. So I was trying to be quite thorough on the major settings that are needed, and like to cover most of the queries that we get or with other installers. Sorry about that. I'm sure in our next webinars, I'll make sure we stay within the timeline. If we don't have any questions, I'm sure we can call it a day. Next week, Liz, which webinar are we having next week? Because every week we are running webinars on our product range. So next week, I'll check. I think we'll be having a webinar on SunSync as well. So Liz, can you confirm which webinar are we having next week?
Webinar for next week, Brian, will be SunSync and Freedom One.
SunSync and Freedom One.
Yes,
So
I will send
every week.
a reminder next week, Monday, so everyone on the database will receive a reminder for next week's webinars.
Okay. If you are not on our database, you can just send a mail to our Gmail account, and then you'll be added so that you get notifications of our webinars as well. So every week we'll be running a webinar on our products every Wednesday and or Thursday, depending on the scope that we need to cover and all that. Okay. If there are no any other questions, I'm sure we can call it a day. Have a lovely day. See you next week.